Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Bleeding Burnt Orange Live Show. I am your host, Matthew Miller. Thank you again for joining me, guys. Please hit that like button as you come in. Please hit that subscribe button. It really helps out what we're trying to grow here. And since the season is over officially for us Texas Longhorns fans, we are over on the SEC channel now. We're also going to be on the SG1 Sports Texas channel and the Mark Rogers TV channel overall. So please hit that like button. Please subscribe. I really appreciate you guys joining us here today. Obviously, as the title says, the sugar went sour Monday night, Tuesday morning for Texas. Overall successful year, but not where we want to go. And I'm going to recap the whole season. We'll get in the Washington game as well. And also a little bit of outlook for the 2024. That's going to be a slow play, guys, because we have a long time to go. What is it? 8 months now until Texas kicks off again, which is sad to say, sad to hear as well for you guys. But thank you again for being here. Hit that like button, subscribe down below. Before we do that, if you're going to go to a game, I'm going to the Texas basketball game actually Tuesday the 9th. Go to ticketsmarter.com, type in code BIG for $10 off a purchase of $100 more, and type in code BIG20 for a purchase of $300 more to get $20 off. Please do that, guys. Don't be dumb. Go to ticketsmarter.com. Also, subscribe to the SEC channel. Like I said, we're trying to grow this brand here. Texas is officially now, as of January 2nd, in the SEC. So, guys, let's do this. Let's talk the SEC when we do get there. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the 12-team playoff. This is a totally new landscape of college football. It's going to be exciting to talk with you guys. So please join me on that as we dive into the SEC season and into the off season. So please hit that like button and subscribe over there as well, guys. It really helps out the channel, and I appreciate it. So Texas loses to Washington 37-31. Hell of a game by the Washington Huskies. Nothing but congratulations for me as a Texas fan. They played a phenomenal game, especially Michael Penix. I think it was probably the best performance a quarterback has had versus Texas in my lifetime. The only one that even comes remotely close is Joe Burrow, and I think Joe Burrow had an interception in that game. He did. So I think Michael Penix has had the best performance ever by a quarterback of a team we have played since probably 2000. If you want to go past that, you can dive deep into that. But during my lifetime, that was the best performance a quarterback has had versus the Texas Longhorns. He was phenomenal, guys. 430 yards passing on 29 completions is insane. on throws 20 yards downfield, guys. He was 6 of 8 for 238 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 95.4 overall grade from Pro Football Focus out of 100. The guy was basically perfect. Going back and watching some of it again, I can't watch all of it. Still hurts. It's still too fresh. He missed 2 throws. He overthrew Devin Culp, and like we talked about after the game with Mark, that didn't end up mattering because he threw a touchdown right after. So that one didn't hurt him. And then he threw a ball to a screen pass to Jalen McMillan that shouldn't have been caught, because Jalen McMillan is so good, is going to play in the NFL. He caught it off the turf. I don't know how he caught it with basically 6 fingers, his 3 fingers on each hand, and he was able to catch that, reel it in, and get a first down out of it. So 2 bad throws, and they came for nothing. Texas didn't generate a turnover. They generated very few pressure, and they had 0 sacks on Michael Penix. And when you do that versus a guy that's in his 6th year in college and delivering dimes consistently throughout the night, you're going to lose the game. So the better team won that game. That's what I've come to realize, and I realized that afterwards. It's still going to hurt because even though the better team won, Texas still could have won that game. We had 4 plays from the 12-yard line. We'll get into that play sequence as well. But let's rattle off a couple stats here because I do have them written down. Quinn Ewers, 24 of 43, 318 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. I thought later in the fourth quarter, he came alive and played pretty well. He was the highest rated Texas Longhorn, actually, according to Pro Football Focus. I'm not surprised by that because like 4 or 5 of his incompletions were just tip passes at the line of scrimmage. I thought Quinn was good enough to win this game. I didn't think the surrounding pieces around him were good enough. He was sacked twice. And then the guys that carry the ball well but just turn it over, guys, C.J. Baxter and Jaden Blue, 9 carries for each of them. They each averaged over 6.5 yards per carry. C.J. Baxter averaged 7. The issue was the fumbling. We started to get going. Jaden Blue fumbles. We got the ball after Washington scored out of halftime, and we fumble it right back to them. They go down, kick a field goal. We're down 10 points. So it's the turnovers, guys, and it's turnovers from 2 guys that weren't. I mean, CJ Baxter was the starter at the beginning of the year, but quickly Jonathan Brooks took that over, and I think that's part of the reason. These guys tend to put the ball in the turf, and you saw it at the worst moments Monday night. Our best player on the offensive side of the ball, receiving wise, Jatavian Sanders for sure, 6 catches, 75 yards. Um, Jordan Whittington, 4 receptions, 70 yards. And I said in the preview show, I thought those two guys were going to have very good games. They had our best games receiving, and it wasn't really close. Worthy, 2 catches for 45 yards. He was 100% hurt, guys. People can say whatever they want about him. He did not have his typical game, but everyone that was there, and if you want to watch the Cover 3 podcast, those guys are very good. Chip Patterson, Bud Elliott, Danny Cannell's okay. Honestly, kind of can get a bit annoying, but they do a very good job over there. Tom Fernelli. Chip Patterson was in the building, and he said Xavier Worthy could not move side to side. And I could see that just by watching the game. The straight line speed was there, but when you have an ankle injury that maybe he might have to have surgery on before he hits the NFL draft, he could not move side to side. And I could tell that because the routes we were throwing him, they were consistently downfield routes. There was nothing with him stopping on a dime and coming back and catching. It was stutter, stutter, go, stutter, stutter, go. And that's what he was that night. And it sucks that back-to-back years he was hurt versus Washington, broken hand last year, hurt ankle this year. But I wish him nothing but the best in the NFL. His time here on the 40 acres is kind of weird. He was kind of like a hired mercenary. He always wanted more NIL money, but he always delivered. So I can't really say too much. Um, uh, Jaden Blue, 45 yards receiving out of the backfield, was probably our best offensive player, honestly. He was good rushing and receiving the ball. It was just the one turnover, guys. If he can just avoid that going in the future, I think there's a good chance he takes over for CJ Baxter, because I think there's way more upside with Jaden Blue than there is CJ Baxter. No offense to CJ Baxter, but he was always banged up. He runs with too high of a pad level, and Jaden Blue is just way too electric out of the backfield for Texas. So I would love to see him get more carries and touches in the future. And then on the defensive side of the ball, guys, we had 0 sacks and 1 tackle for loss. We were not good enough on the defensive side of the ball at all. The interior was the strength and is the strength of this team, but the problem is, Byron Murphy was the only real pass rusher there. Devondre Sweat's not a pass rusher. He's a run plugger, and he's very good at that. Pro Football Focus has Byron Murphy and Devondre Sweat as the 2 highest defensive tackles ranked out of college football. They're studs. They're amazing. But the problem is, guys, if only one of those guys, and that's Byron Murphy, can really rush the passer, and he got there a couple times, he just could not bring down Michael Penix, then you were going to have issues, because Ethan Burke and Barron Sorrell are nice players. Ethan Burke's going to be a very good player, in my opinion. He's only a true freshman, but he's got to get better. He's got to put more muscle on his frame, and he's got to develop some pass rushing moves. Kind of the same thing with Anthony Hill. You saw him rush the passer, but couldn't really do anything. These are 2 tackles for Washington that are going to play in the NFL, and they played like it. Barron Sorrell is a run stuffer again, and he didn't do anything really in the pass rush either. So Texas desperately going into next season has to get a pass rush, whether that's from incoming guys like Trey Moore and Colin Simmons, Trey Moore through the transfer portal, or Colin Simmons through the recruiting, or Ethan Burke. I think he'll take a step forward. Barron Sorrell is going to be interesting because he'll be coming back for a senior year. If he does come back, I think he will. I don't know why he wouldn't, because he's probably a 5th or 6th round pick, to where he's going to have to get better if he's going to want to stay on the field. So we'll see what happens there. But overall, guys, I mean, Washington hit in every area they needed to. Penix had a light out game. I told everyone time of possession was a big deal. Washington dominated that 36-20 on their time of possession to 23-40. That's not even close. I said Texas had to win. They didn't even get close on that. They were 13 minutes behind, basically, in time of possession. So Washington won that as another key category. And they had more turnovers and sacks. I mean, the better team won Monday night, period, point blank, end of story. We were very lucky that we had a chance to win at the end. And if we would have won at the end, I honestly think we win the national championship, because that would have been like getting a big break. We weren't going to play like that back-to-back games, but it is what it is. It sucks. We're going to have to live with that as Texas fans. And I think the last pass from Quinn Ewers to A.D. Mitchell basically shows why Quinn Ewers is going to come back. He has great touch of the football, but he needs to learn to drive the football, step into his throws and drive. That's the difference between him and Michael Penix. Michael Penix is confident in the pocket, steps up, and just delivers strike after strike. Quinn Ewers definitely has touch, definitely can throw a pretty deep ball when it's there, but he needs to be able to rifle it in. I think he has the arm talent too. I don't know what the issue is with that. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he doesn't have the arm talent too, but Quinn Ewers must learn to rifle the ball in, because if he just steps into that throw to A.D. Mitchell and throws a pylon ball, that's a touchdown. We're in the national championship. We're celebrating. We're talking about playing Michigan this week, but he didn't. And that's why he's coming back, and that's what he needs to work on, is rifling the ball. And I think that would also help with the red zone guys, because when you're forced to just throw jump balls or run, that's really hard to do in the red zone. There are times coverage is tight because it's the red zone. You're going to have to rifle one in there, and we've yet to see Quinn do that. Do I think he's capable of it? Yes. Is it a mental thing, footwork thing? What is it? We'll find out going into next season. If he doesn't do it next season, then honestly, it's probably arm strength. And if that's arm strength, he's probably not going to be a very good NFL quarterback, just straight up. He's probably not. But if he can actually gain the confidence and rifle it in, and that's the true issue, I think he'd be a first-round pick next year, and that's why he's coming back. So that's my Sugar Bowl recap. I'll jump into your comments and questions, guys, and then we'll jump into next season from there. Penalties destroyed any chance plus the fumbles 100%. Dr. Detroit, penalties and fumbles. We had 10 penalties. They had 5. By the way, going in this game, I believe Washington was like one of the 10 most penalized teams. There were some calls by the officials I think they got wrong. The one where they picked up the block in the back when it was clearly a block in the back was definitely shouldn't have been picked up. That's like the only bad call, honestly, that I think could have possibly changed the outlook of this game. That's the only one. And the only way that changes the outlook of it if it's an unnecessary roughness penalty. If it's just a block in the back and it's 1st and 20, I still think Washington probably picks that up. Now, if it's 2nd and 25, that's a different story. Maybe next year Texas will avoid playing Washington. Yeah, I don't think Washington will be nearly as good next year. Will Rogers, obviously, they're probably going to lose all 3 of those wide receivers. Probably going to lose Dylan Johnson. Probably going to lose multiple offensive linemen. So I think Washington takes a pretty big step back next year. But guess what? It doesn't matter because they could win the national championship. And if you're a Washington fan, if you can win a national championship and then the next 4 to 5 years and probably Kalen DeBoer leaving happens as well, you would sign up for that in a heartbeat. So that was a hell of a game by them. Hell of a job by Michael Penix. I have no issue with Washington. Texas should have won. Sark got out-coached, in my opinion. Sark did get out-coached, and we can talk about the play sequences, especially at the end of the game. But the problem is, so again, you're working with no timeouts and limited time, and then you're also working with Xavier Worthy's basically a non-factor in this situation because he's hurt. You're not going to run any plays for him. I guess the play that everyone was questioning was the flat pass to Jaden Blue. If you go back and look, and Sark explained this, they were looking for Jatavian Sanders and Jordan Whittington running up the seam, and that they had that covered. It was 4-on-2 there, so immediately Quinn just checked it down. Personally, and this is the thing, I don't know if it's Quinn's arm strength, his understanding of play calling, what it is. He doesn't throw over the middle in the red zone. He doesn't really throw over the middle that much in general, and that's something that's going to need to be worked on. I don't think it's arm strength because the guy can throw like 65, 70 yards. So I think it's more about confidence, and he's going to have to work on that this offseason because it's a big thing. I am okay. I'm perfectly fine. I'm not – this is – if I'm ranking heartbreaking losses for me, guys, in my lifetime, just like flat out heartbreaking, 2009 national championship, not even close, because I still think we win that game if Colt McCoy's healthy. 2008, Texas Tech, they were the better team, but we should have won the game if we can just push Michael Crabtree out of bounds. And by the way, I think we win the national championship that year. That's just my opinion. And then this game, but we weren't the better team, and we didn't deserve to win. 2009 is always going to be up there for me because I think we were the better team, and I think we proved that when Colt McCoy was on the field for that little bit of time. Jose agreed our penalties and fumbles took away any chance to win. That the same Quinn Ewers that played Oklahoma State didn't come to play. Yeah, there was that, and then the play calling wasn't as good, and then you don't have Xavier Worthy healthy. So it's just a multitude of factors. Michigan versus the world. You excited? I'm tired of hearing Michigan versus the world. Michigan should be favored in this game. I think they're the better team. But if Michael Penix comes to play like that again, it's going to be a really good, really close game, and Washington could definitely win. That guy's – people don't realize when you have a first-round quarterback, they cover up so much of your issues, If you take Michael Penix away from this team and put Will Rogers, who's coming in on it, this team loses 2 to 3 games this year, and they're not in this position. That's how good Michael Penix is. Michael Penix should be the 3rd best quarterback coming into the NFL draft. I don't know what the hell the scouts are looking at. If you want to say injury history, fine. But if you're just going based off eye test talent and tools, Michael Penix is at worst the 3rd best quarterback coming out in this draft. At worst. Texas came a play away from winning despite all the screw-ups. And that's another good point, Dr. Detroit, because I'm thinking about 2 years ago when I started doing this for Mark, and we went to Arkansas, and I was semi-confident about that game. I thought it'd be a close game, good game. And Arkansas just beat the shit out of us. And to come from that game to this game to where we played a C- game, I upgraded. I thought D+ at the end of the game. I'm going to upgrade us to C-. I thought Washington played a B+ game, and to lose by 6 points versus a team that could win the national championship, and I think it's going to be a really good game Monday. That's a hell of an achievement by the staff, hell of an achievement by these players. So I really don't have anything bad to say. Like, overall, it was a good season. I will take away this from this team. It's a very resilient bunch, but but it's not going to be the most talented team Steve Sarkisian ever has. That's my opinion on that. I also think this team never reached their full potential. We never played an A game. This whole year, we never played an A game. Alabama wasn't an A game because if it was, we would have blown them out. Go back and look, guys. We left like 17 points on the board versus Alabama. So that's why that's kind of, honestly, I kind of always knew this wasn't, and I've said this as much. I didn't think this was ever going to be a national championship team. I think they hit their ceiling. I think the college football playoff was this team's ceiling. It sucks to say that, but that's what it is. And as Texas fans, I think you have to come to that realization. Excited, sure. Don't see Washington. I would not underestimate them. They have a very good quarterback. Guys, that Cam Newton, perfect example. That's a 5-7 Auburn team with a generational quarterback. This could be a 8-4 Washington team with a generational quarterback. You've seen this with other teams. If Michigan is not able to get pressure from the edges, they're going to lose this game. If they do, they'll win the game. It's that simple. It really is. But these Washington tackles are so good. I believe one of the tackles hasn't allowed a sack the whole year. So that's insane to me. You definitely have better edges than we do. I think our interior is just as good as Michigan's, but their edges are definitely better. So it's going to be interesting. And obviously a better cornerbacks. Will Johnson's really good. Without Dylan, Washington has almost no chance, and our D isn't like the pack. That's fair. We played our C- game, and that was good enough to beat Bama. Yeah, I mean, do I think that was a C- game for Michigan? I mean, I thought that was like a typical Michigan performance from what I've seen. Maybe that, like I said, and that's the thing too. Like, Texas has not played an A game all year, so was it really justified to me to say if we play our game we win? No, because they haven't played it all year, so I can't say that. So I don't know. Wet blanket. He has arm strength, just gets happy feet when pressured. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's the next step. He's got all the talent. He definitely got better from year 1 to year 2. If he can make that jump from year 1 to year 2, he does that year 2 to year 3, he can be the Michael Penn, not that good, but he can be similar to where he drags. I think next year's team will be slightly less talented, but if Quinn Ewers is better, I don't care, because if you have a great quarterback, they cover up a lot of warts. And I think he'll be behind the best offensive line too since 2005. So this team's got talent. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the video, dive deep into who I think is going to stay, who I think is going. Obviously, Xavier Worthy has already declared for the NFL draft. Not unexpected. Everyone thought he was gone. Sark's career was dead not so long ago. He has come a long way. He definitely has. That's why I trust him. He's pretty honest. I mean, he was honest in the post-game show. He's always going to be pretty transparent and honest towards the media and his players, and that's why I like him. He's not Tom Herman. Tom Herman, like I said, was an arrogant douchebag. Manning, lightning trolling. Yeah, we're going to see that a lot next year if Quinn struggles. I don't think he will very much. He might have one bad game next year, but yeah, I don't want Arch Manning to start next year because I think that would cause all sorts of issues for Texas. I don't think. I mean, he'll probably play at some point because Quinn cannot stay healthy through a whole season. That's another thing that I think he has to prove to NFL scouts is staying healthy throughout a whole season. But other than that, I don't see Arch playing next year unless it's in spot play, which I'm hoping at some point we do blow someone out and he gets to play a little bit. That would be nice. Arch will be the guy to hold that big trophy over set. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. I think a lot of that has to do with who you play, who's around him, all that sort of stuff. So we'll have to see. That's way too far down the road for me to say anything about that. Yeah, for sure, BB Bean. Michigan has better secondary for sure. That's not even close. Texas secondary is not very good. Linebacker play, I think that's slightly Michigan. Edge plays Michigan. And the defensive tackle is us. That's like the only thing we have over Michigan is our defensive tackles. But their edges are better. I think their linebackers are even or slightly better. I think their safeties are definitely better, and I think their cornerbacks are definitely better. So but then offensively, I think we have the better quarterback. I know people will argue with that. Offensive line, I think theirs is better in certain aspects. Um, Wide receiver is not as good. Tight ends, you're deeper, but you don't have Jatavian Sanders. So honestly, Michigan wants to keep this game under 30. If it's under 30, they're going to win. If this gets high scoring, Washington's winning the football game. I'm glad Washington beat Texas because Texas is a streaky, scary, psychotic team. You never know which is going to show. But Washington has a horrible defense and wants to drag race everyone. Go blue. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I've never seen a team like Washington where they do want to score higher, but they don't really run tempo. Like they were taking their time versus Texas. That's why they ended up with 36-20 of time of possession. It's kind of weird. So you want to keep them because they didn't do very well versus third down on versus us, and that has a lot to do with us. We're the best third down defense in the country, but they were just able to consistently hit downfield shots. So if Michigan can stop that, then they'll win the game. And I don't think they're going to be completely stop it. I'm saying, can they contain it? That should be a better word because you're not going to be able to completely stop Washington's offense. I still say Ewers telegraphs passes. He's gotten way better at that. There are still some instances, I agree. 3 to 4 times a game, you're going to see him say, oh, I'm going here no matter what. But it's very rare now. It's not as bad. It's his footwork still needs a little bit of tweaking. And then I think confidence, honestly. And I think you'll see that next year because I think you'll see him get the playbook down and be able to run Sark's offense completely. What is your opinion of Xavier Worthy's personality? Um, I mean, I think he's selfish for sure, but he's a hell of a player. He's a top 5 wide receiver in Texas football history. I don't like the way in certain aspects he handled NIL publicly. Hated that. Don't like it. But he's kind of this new generation. And I know I'm young and I fucking hate the shit. So I understand why older people hate it. Um, I I'm kind of iffy. I like A.D. Mitchell personally better just from the little bit I've heard of him in the 1 year he spent here than Xavier Worthy as a person, but that's just me. With Manning, is ceiling higher than with Ewers? Um, I've seen very little athletically for sure. He's a great athlete, phenomenal athlete. So yes, there. Arm strength, I think Arch probably has a little bit. I don't know. I haven't seen him enough. I think just because of who his uncles are, probably yes, because his brain, the Manning brain, and everything I've heard, the first thing that everyone says is work ethic. So if he's got his uncle's work ethic, yes, he probably has a higher ceiling than Quinn Ewers. I think Washington will try to run tempo on Michigan. I actually totally disagree with that. Washington has not run tempo on anyone this whole year. I don't think they're going to try to run it versus Michigan. Michigan hasn't played a quarterback playing on. Agreed. I 100% agree with that. I don't think Michigan has played a quarterback like Penix, but I also don't think Washington has played a defense like Michigan. So I think that makes, guys, you're playing in the national championship. That's how it's supposed to be. Washington should be playing the defense they haven't seen before, and Michigan should be playing the quarterback they haven't seen before. And that's exactly what's happening here. The best quarterback Washington has played was Quinn Ewers last round. The best defense Michigan, or the best offense Michigan has played, I don't know. Maryland? I think Maryland's better offensively than Alabama. I don't know. It's either Maryland or Alabama, maybe Ohio State. Maryland, about Alabama, Ohio State in there. None of them are great. None of them are top 20 offenses, in my opinion, but I'm still upset Worthy ended up at Texas and not Michigan. Michigan, let's be honest here, wouldn't have used them the way Texas does. No offense to Michigan. You're just not going to get, I just don't think, those elite recruits at the wide receiver position because they don't run that type of offense. But he would have been good no matter what, where he would have went. He's a very good wide receiver. He's going to end up as probably, based on his 40 time, it would shock me if he's not a first round pick. I think his 40 time is going to be insane. I think it's going to be somewhere between 4.25 and 4.32. So I see him as a first round pick. B Bean, we will actually discuss that very soon. I'm going to take some more of your comments and I'll jump into that. Penix isn't God. I never said he was God. I think he's a first round pick. I mean, he's definitely a first round pick. And first round quarterbacks are different. They don't grow on trees. You see the difference. And there are little differences. It's the difference between if Quinn Ewers came out this year, he's probably a third round pick. And the difference is the velocity on certain throws, angles on certain throws, leverage on certain throws. Those are the couple things that come to mind of first round and third round quarterback. And that's why Michael Penix is going in the first round, because every ball he threw in Washington versus Texas was a place where only his wide receiver could catch it. Every ball, which is insane to say. There are guys in the NFL that don't do that. So he was phenomenal. Going back and watching the one where Ryan Watts literally has Rome Odunze, has a part of his jersey and his hand going through as the ball's being caught, and you still catch it and it's in perfect position, you can't do anything about that. And I don't care who's cornerback. If Will Johnson's in that position, it's not going to make a difference either. If the ball is in perfect position, you're going to have issues defending it. Now, will Michigan make more plays than Texas? Absolutely, because they have a better secondary and they have a better pass rush. Will Michael Penix still make plays versus Michigan? Absolutely, because Michael Penix is a first-round quarterback. 1 to 10, how shocked would you be if Washington won? 5. They could win this game. It's literally a matter of, can you keep Michael Penix somewhat clean? I don't think you have to be. Their offensive line doesn't have to do what they did versus Texas. If they give up 2 sacks, I still think they can win the game. But if Michigan does what they did versus Alabama and get 6 sacks, that Michigan will win. I don't think that's going to happen because Washington has a much better pass protecting offensive line than Alabama. Alabama has struggled with that all year. So I fully expect Washington's offensive line to play better than Alabama's did. Did the Washington DBs just play really well? I think Worthy, Mitchell, and Whittington would have done more. Very good question, Will. Xavier Worthy was 100% hurt. Could not move laterally. So I think they basically just used him as a guy, hey, you're going to run deep basically the whole night. You're going to go a lot of stutters and goes. That's exactly what happened. He got double teamed actually quite a bit, which surprised me. A.D. Mitchell, you could tell, was frustrated. I think he was getting open. And Quinn wasn't trusting him. Also, Quinn never really had a super clean pocket. He was always having to move left or right or up in the pocket. And I think that's part of the issue too. But other than that, I don't know. Also, we have to talk about this. The third downs. I forget what we were overall on third downs, but the average yard to go was like 11 yards. So think about that. On third down, you basically lost a yard on first or second down and never gained any on one of the other 2 downs either. And you were at 3rd and 11 the whole game. That has something to do with it too, because Washington could just sit back and say, oh, they have to throw the ball. So we were running it effectively, but the problem is we never gotten good running downs. And then when we did, we turned it over. So, I mean, there's really no good answer for that. I think it was just the way the game went along. I think this is the absolute worst you could have seen from Worthy, Mitchell, and Whittington in this game. I think in other games, if you play this game 100 times, you're going to see way more than that. If Worthy was healthy, you would have seen way more from him. I think they would have given him a lot like end arounds and stuff like that to give him the ball, but there's no point of doing that when the guy can't move laterally. So, yeah, that's the main thing on that. It sucks too because A.D. Mitchell's so damn good, and that was probably the last game he'll play in a Texas uniform. We'll talk about that again in a little bit as well. Marvin Harrison is no. This is just a stupid, very stupid comment. Marvin Harrison is way better than any receiver on Washington, Michigan, contain him pretty good. Let me ask you this question: Rome Odunze, Marvin Harrison. NFL scouts will tell you Marvin Harrison here, Rome Odunze here. They're number 1 and 2 in this draft. There's not that much of a difference. And let me ask you this: Penix or Kyle McCord? Use common sense, guys, please. Oh, also this: Washington offensive line or Ohio State offensive line? Come on, man. Like, so you can be a homer, but at least be real at some points. Be real at some points. That's all I ask. I've been real this whole show. I've said Washington's the better team. We suck as a secondary. We didn't coach well, but you can't be real with yourself. Come on, man. Be real with yourself. Penix has experience too. He knows that offense. Thank you. That's another thing too. How long has he been with Kalen DeBoer? How many years has he been in college football? That man ran the offense like he knew it inside and out. And that's another difference between him and Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers is getting the play call, having to analyze it in his brain. Michael Penix gets that play call, automatically knows what to do with it. Automatically knows. He knows here, here, here. And that sequence, and that rhythm, and that timing. Also, underrated in this game. The guy moved around like an NFL veteran in the pocket. Little shoulder tuck, slide, shoulder tuck, slide, step up, slide to the left, slide to the right. Freaking doing the cha-cha back there. That is elite stuff and stuff that very few NFL quarterbacks are good at. That's what makes you a good NFL quarterback, and he was doing it. So props to him on that too. So that's the thing too. I thought even if we moved him off his spot, he would struggle. He didn't miss a damn beat. We moved him off his spot probably 10 to 12 times, and it didn't matter. He would just slide and make a perfect throw. So you have to get him down. That's the thing. You have to get him on the ground. If you're allowing him to escape, by the way, ran more in this game than he has all year, then you're going to have issues. You just are. What shocked you most about Penix? I would say the elusiveness and accuracy. I knew he was accurate. I did not know he was elusive, and I didn't know he could be that elusive and then also deliver dimes down the field as he was getting chased. That was incredible. Again, there's one throw. Zach Smith has retweeted this. I'm not a big fan of him as a person. He does a great podcast though, Menace Sports. Um, Byron Murphy, I believe, right in his face. This guy literally just flicks his wrist, and it's 25 yards downfield on a back shoulder to their fourth string wide receiver right over the cornerback shoulder. How do you defend that? You don't. That's the issue. So he throws the best back shoulder ball of any college quarterback I've seen in a long time. There are better guys in the NFL, obviously, that have done it, but quarterback wise in college, he's the best back throw. Man, this is hard to say. He's the best at throwing the back shoulder pass in college I've seen in a long time. Texas versus Washington, third down, 4 of 11, fourth down, 0 of 1. Yeah, Texas did a good job, and they're really good at that, so I'm not surprised. It's played out just like it did. We were good at stopping the run, good on third down, terrible in the air, and they exploited that. Still say we dodged a bullet with Washington. I agree with you, Mike. I think we're a better matchup for you guys. I've said that for a long time. Washington was by far the worst matchup for Texas. I've said it for now, 5 weeks. Texas fans were way too arrogant, way too cocky. This team had everything we didn't want to see. They had a first-round quarterback with 3 NFL wide receivers versus our bad secondary. Our front 7 is good. Our front 4 is not, and they exploited the hell out of it. And that's the issue, and that's why I said I'd way rather – the only reason I'd rather play Michigan over Alabama is because we played Alabama. If we had not played either, I would have rather played Alabama. They would have been my number one option. I would have gone Alabama, Michigan, Washington if we hadn't played. But because we had played them, I wanted Michigan, Alabama, or Washington. And we got Washington, and we played like crap. They played way better, and they deserved to win the game. That too, that it would have been a home game for us. That would have been nice. Also sad that Manning will probably, yeah, it is kind of weird. He probably only will play 1 year. And then, guys, the next one, he got I believe he was the offensive player of the day at the Under Armour All-American game. Trey Owens, 4-star kid, gigantic human being, 6'6", 220. He's committed to Texas, signed with Texas. He's next in line, and Manning does go after 1 year. So pretty confident with him as well. I was hoping for Michigan, Washington, Texas was a schematic nightmare for us. Mike, me and you have been on the same page of this for the last month and a half. I 100% agree with you, but it is what it is. You guys took care of business. We didn't. I do agree. If you're able to get pressure on Penix, you guys will win this game. Like, if you get 6 sacks, you're winning the game, period. End of story. There's no way Washington can win. I think the demarcation line for me is 3. I think if Michigan gets 3 or more sacks, they win the game. I think it's that simple. If they don't get them on the ground, they're going to be in for a long night. And I don't care how good your secondary is, because if they have to cover for 5 seconds, you're going to be in trouble. This playoff was the best ever. Yeah, it probably was. It was a very good playoff. Yep, I call Texas a streaky, scary, psychotic team to play. Could be a daisy or a hand grenade. That's a perfect example of what Texas was. I think if we played to our A game, if everyone in this playoff had played an A game, I think we win the national championship. Problem is, we had never played an A game the whole year. And that's what the hope us Texas fans were hoping for, is at some point we were going to play an A game. This team just never had an A game with inside of them. The highest we ever got was a B+ game when we played Baylor. I think the next highest was a B game at Alabama. Everything else, we were basically a C team the whole year. We played our C game. The only time I think a D game came out was the Oklahoma game. That was a total shit show. That was by far our worst game of the year. And then I think Washington was just a typical game for us. I think other than the pre-snap penalties on the offensive line, that is exactly what Texas does. We shoot ourselves in the foot. We turn the ball over. We're not great in the red zone. At the end of the game, think about it. We had those 4 plays. We had 3 plays prior. Out of those 7 plays in the last 2 drives for Texas in the red zone, we had 3 points. That's who we are. So we deserve to lose. Only thing that ruined the postseason is that I've seen multiple FSU outlets saying Bama and Texas losing proves that the committee got it wrong. Please, son. I think if Jordan Travis is healthy, I don't think Bama gets in. Maybe Texas gets screwed in that situation. I don't think FSU was ever going to win a national championship. I think they're right, honestly. I think Texas and Florida State would be a really good game. I think they're right on par with us as a team, so it would have been interesting. Com- Compare Penix versus Burrow. I actually think Burrow's more mobile. I think Penix with the deep ball is more accurate. I think release wise, I think Penix has a slightly faster release. I think Joe Burrow is more of a student of the game, though, because you got to realize hasn't had as many years in college as Michael Penix has. But I think there's a lot of similarities there, honestly. You guys played super tough. I'll be honest that I'd be worried about playing you guys. Washington looks very beatable. Yeah, and that's the thing. We would have forced JJ McCarthy because you're not going to run on us. No one has run on us. Michigan wasn't going to run on us. It was going to come down to, can JJ McCarthy be good in his 30 to 35 attempts? Because that's what it was going to have to take. He was going to have to throw the ball 30 to 35 times. And if he could he didn't have to be Michael Penix, but if he could be Will Howard played pretty damn well versus us. You can win the game. So it would have been interesting. That's my thing. Yes, because if Texas was able to stop plays, then we would have won. The issue was Michael Penix. It didn't matter if you pressured him. If you pressured him, he's just going to step to his left or right and deliver a dime. It didn't matter. You have to get him on the ground. That too. Texas was running it down Washington's throat. Corum might go for 250 yards rushing. Yeah, that's the thing. As long as you don't fumble, you're going to be able to rush the ball. That was our issue. We got away from it because, one, we shot ourselves in the foot with penalties, and that pushed us back, and there was no point of running on 2nd and 12 because when you pick up 6, because then it's 3rd and 6, and that's still hard to convert. And then also with turnovers, you're not going to keep giving it to the running backs when they keep putting it on the ground. So it basically became moot, and we got down. The key to this game, I said it with Lars, time of possession, get up early, and get Michael Penix down. We did none of them. None of them. We didn't hit on any of the keys to the game. Zero, zilch. And we still only lost by 6. So it was a good game. That's very interesting because I think Washington kind of wants to do the same thing. Guys, they want to score, but again, they take their time in doing it. 36 minutes of time of possession is a lot. They were throwing the ball, but they were taking the play clock down to 12 seconds every single time. I think it's a very good comment, John. Penix will get his. Stroud got his in 2021, 2022 also. I think, to me, that's who Michael Penix reminds me of the most. CJ Stroud didn't want to run, but he could if he needed to. Michael Penix is the same way, and he's very accurate. CJ Stroud is very accurate. I think there's a lot of similarities there. Yes, a lot. It affected it a lot because Jonathan Brooks does not fumble. He's fumbled once all in his whole year versus Kansas State. And that's what I told Mark too. Like, I think Jane Blue and CJ Baxter are more talented than Jonathan Brooks, but Jonathan Brooks understands the offense because he's been in it so long. He's better pass catching out of the backfield. He's more shifty, and he doesn't fumble. I think he helps out a lot in this game, and it's going to be interesting to see if he comes back. Burrow was more consistently good than Penix, 100% agreed. This is random. Messi, it's not really close. Ronaldo's not even a top 5 soccer player of all time, but that's the only comment I'll make on that. I do want to jump into this real quick, guys, and then I'll get back to your comments. So players and coaches losses for next season. I'll just jump into this. So obviously Xavier Worthy gone, official today. Not surprised for that. Tavondre Sweat, senior, no eligibility, gone, and I don't think it would come back anyways because he's probably a late first, early second round pick. Jalen Ford, eligibility, gone. And then sorry, I can't even read my handwriting on this one. I'll have to come back to that. Christian Jones, sorry. Christian Jones, our right tackle, is gone. And then most likely gone, A.D. Mitchell, Byron Murphy, Jatavian Sanders, Jonathan Brooks. Out of all these 4, I think Jonathan Brooks possibly comes back, but it's really hard for me to see that, guys, because you have C.J. Baxter, you have Jaden Blue, you have Christian Clark and Jarrett Gibson. I don't think Christian Clark factors in. I think Jarrett Gibson factors in a little bit, the freshman coming in, second best running back in the class. But I love Jonathan Brooks, but I don't know how much he can fit into this room. I also don't know if he wants to do it at the rehab. He'll probably be a third-round pick. To me, go and get the money and rehab while you're in the NFL if I'm him. The next most likely guy, I think it's a tie between A.D. Mitchell and Jatavian Sanders. I think Byron Murphy's most likely gone, guys. It sucks because I'd love to see him come back, but he's starting to climb, guys. He's already mocked in the late first round. CBS has him as 32 to the Ravens, so I think he's gone. And I think A.D. Mitchell, again, is teetering between late first, early second round. And I think he'd be second round. I think there's a chance he comes back. Jatavian Sanders is going to be second round. I don't think anyone other than Brock Bowers at the tight end position gets drafted in the first. So I think if I'm ranking who comes back, number one, most likely Jonathan Brooks. Number two would be Jatavian Sanders. Number three, A.D. Mitchell. And low at number four is Byron Murphy, unless they give him a crap ton of money and NFL scouts are telling him he's going to the second round. But he already accepted a Senior Bowl invite, so I expect him to be gone. Most likely coming back. We did get good. Well, we'll jump to that later. David Benda and Ryan Watts. I think Ryan Watts comes back as a safety. That's where he's been the last year and a half. NFL scouts have been telling him, you're a safety in the next level. You're a safety in the next level. Come back and be a safety. You have Derek Williams, Ryan Watts plays safety with Michael Taft rotating in as well with Xavier Filsaime, the number, 2 or 3 ranked safety in the class. He might be the number 1 ranked safety. I know he's a 5-star coming in, so that will help out as well. And then David Benda, we're going to need a linebacker. Anthony Hill's going to be the mic. He's going to take over for Jalen Ford. I think you're going to see Maurice Blackwell play a lot too. We need one more linebacker. I'm hoping David Benda stays because if those three there, that's a decent linebacker core, especially Anthony Hill's a freak. Anthony Hill is Nakobe Dean-like from Georgia. That's who I think he can be. So that'd really help out. And then good news today. We got Alfred Collins back. I think he's probably a third or fourth round pick in the NFL draft. I think you're going to see him try to come back and replicate what Tavondre Sweat did, where he was a 4th or 5th round pick and jump into that first round, maybe upper second round. And if you look at Alfred Collins' 5 best plays of the season, he's a first round guy. If you look at his consistent play, he's not. That's his issue, is consistency. Come back and be consistent. He has the body type, guys. He's got a Chris Jones body type. He's got a Fletcher Cox body type. He can be an elite defensive tackle. You just got to work at it. We'll see what he does. If he does that, we honestly don't miss much because you'll have him, Vernon Broughton, Sadir Mitchell, Jare Bledsoe, who I really like. Jare Bledsoe has the highest upside of the whole room. Didn't really play that much this year. And then also Caldwell, defensive tackle. I feel like Kareem Caldwell from Houston. He is looking to transfer. I think there's a high possibility Texas gets him. Very good against the run. Also had 6 sacks. If you have Alfred Collins and Caldwell starting next to each other next year with Ethan Burke, Trey Moore coming in from UTSA, who led the nation in sacks, Baron Sorrell, and also Colin Simmons, 5-star defensive end. If those are your rotations at the edge position, I actually think the defensive line this year overall is better than the defensive line from this year. So defensive line next year is better overall from the defensive line this year. So that's really good if we can do that. Portal needs, in my opinion, guys. I still think we need a cornerback, one that can step in and play right away. Malik Muhammad, 5-star freshman from this year, is going to play next year. He's going to be the main guy. It's going to be very interesting. I think he'll be fine. Like I said, I think the safeties will be fine. Andrew Makuba from Clemson is going to come in. He'll slide right into that nickelback spot, probably rotate to safety sometimes, and I think he'll be just as good as Jahdae Barron, so we're not really missing much. That other cornerback position is the iffy mark. Can Terrence Brooks step up? Can Gavin Holmes step up if he doesn't transfer? I think you're going to see 3 to 4 more guys transfer. I think that's one of them that could transfer because he didn't get much playing time later on. Or will we go get a cornerback? Or can Kobe Black and the guys coming in be that cornerback? We need a solid number 2 cornerback. I think Malik Muhammad, I think you're going to see a really big jump from this year to next year. And then Bo Davis, guys, there's talk, defensive line coach, that he could go to LSU. The only way he's going to LSU, guys, is if he gets a gigantic pay raise. He is making $1.3 million at Texas. That's insane for a defensive line coach. I think he's the highest paid, or I know he's the highest paid defensive line coach in the country. He's one of like the 10 highest paid assistants. I think Texas has 3 of the 10 highest paid assistants. So unless LSU makes him the defensive coordinator and pays him $2 million, I don't think he's leaving, because I think he's even going to get a bump. I think he'll be up to 1.5 by the beginning of next year. So unless LSU wants to make him the defensive coordinator, he stays. If he does that, you throw your hands up and you go find another defensive line coach. But he's very good. He deserves it. I hope he sticks around. I think there's about an 80% chance he does. I think LSU, like I said, unless they make him the defensive coordinator, He will stay. Also, linebacker coach Johnny Nansen is the name we're keep hearing. We'll see if he sticks around or see if he comes into Texas. He is the Arizona defensive coordinator, so he'd actually be going down to linebackers coach, but he'd probably be making more money. That's a really good hire if we do end up getting him. He's on vacation, according to like insider on Texas football and Orange Bloods. He's on vacation in Hawaii. I think you'll know by the 10th if he's the linebacker coach at Texas. Otherwise, we'll probably have moved on by then. We'll jump into your comments. Yes, please hit that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well. I appreciate that, John. Washington's O-line will do better versus our pass rush than Bama's, but Penix will get sacked a few times. If we limit him to around 21, we should be able to score 31 to 34 and have a comfortable win. That's a reasonable outlook, John, and I don't disagree with any of it. I know you Texans. Hey, I'm from Ohio, and I hate the Texans. I hate Houston. I'm actually a Yankees fan. I'm probably gonna get hate for that too, but give it to me. Uh, I doubt I'll even recognize our rosters when we play next year. Yeah, Michigan's going to have a lot of turnover. Texas won't have as much. Unless McCarthy stays. When McCarthy stays, I think that'll be a good game. If McCarthy leaves and Harbaugh leaves, I think Texas wins that game pretty easily, honestly. Ron Lowney, you lost to a good team and a great quarterback, 100%. Next year, you can prove yourself in the SEC. Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a second as well. SEC odds did come out for who they believe will win it next year. It's going to be pretty interesting. Is college football going in the right direction, wrong direction? Think about portal, NIL, realignment, fire coaches, etc. It's going in it's teetering. I don't know whether it's in the right direction or in the wrong direction yet, but someone needs to take control. Something has to be done. These portal windows don't make sense. The NIL is out of control. We need a commissioner. Period. Point blank. That's what we need. It's going to be interesting. NIL got crazy. Arch was the third stringer and was pulling around $3 million. That's crazy. He could be pulling in. Mike, he has not taken any money. Said that in the press conference. His parents are not allowing him to take any money until he plays at Texas. Until he's the starter, he is not allowed to get paid. He said that multiple times, and I respect that. They don't need the money anyways, so it's going to be interesting when he does. DDR says wrong direction. It possibly could be. I think it's on the teetering point. I think in these next 5 years, it's going to be interesting. Orgy is going to be a stud. Well, let me tell you this. Unless he can throw the football, I don't care if he can run it because he's not running it versus our defense. The last 2 years, no one's really been able to run versus our defense. And I know Sweat and Murphy are gone, but if we get Caldwell in from Houston, plus Alfred Collins and Trey Moore and Colin Simmons, you're not running versus us. I actually think it's weird, though, because I think our secondary might be the strength next year. With all the guys coming in and the guys we bring back, it's going to be interesting. That's a great comparison. Orgy right now is Milrow. Yeah, and we were able to contain Milrow. So, and does he have the deep ball Milrow does? Because Milrow throws the best deep ball in college football. Like, that thing is pretty. It's accurate. He's pretty damn good with it. And if he isn't the best, he's in the top 3. But yeah, going back to the SEC stuff, guys, we'll jump into the outlook for 2024. This will be quick. So the SEC odds came out. Anyone want to tell me where they think Texas is real quick? Take a guess for me. I'll just say this. Top 5. Bama and Georgia are 1. Tennessee is 5th. Where does Texas rank in there? And if anyone wants to guess the other 2 through 4 in there as well, you can do that. Who knows if Orgy is in? Cheat the box, dude's not throwing it. True. If we win the Natty, they're gone. Yeah, I agree. I think Harbaugh and McCarthy are gone if they win the Natty. B. Bean says 4th for SEC odds for Texas to win it next year. Harbaugh wants to go win a Super Bowl. Who can blame him if he reaches the top of college football? Yeah, now that I think about that, well, I thought about it before, but it would be Jimmy Johnson. I'm trying to think of other Pete Carroll are the only 2 coaches come to mind that have won a national championship and a Super Bowl. Anyone else? Barry Switzer. So 3 guys. He'd join very rare company if he did that. Texas, guys, is 2nd in SEC odds next year at 9-1. It's Bama and Georgia tied at number 1 with 5-1. Texas is 9-1. LSU is 12-1, which shocked me. Ole Miss is 14-1, which I think is a bit low. I think they should be 3rd. And Tennessee is 25-1. After that, you have Texas A&M is 5th, which is ridiculous. But Texas being 2 is kind of surprising me. I thought they'd be a little bit lower, but 2, I'll take 2. I would say 4, Ole Miss probably sneaks ahead of them. Kiffin raided the portal like unguarded Halloween candy. Yeah, surprisingly, Ole Miss is 3rd or 4th, guys. Actually 5th if you want to combine Bama and Georgia at 14-1 for Ole Miss. That kind of surprised me. LSU was the one that I just don't understand. 12-1, unless you're getting Bo Davis and you're also raiding the portal and all these guys step up. You're bringing in a whole new defensive coaching staff with a new quarterback, with new wide receivers. You're not going to have Brian Thomas. You're not going to have Malik Neighbors. That one makes no sense. Also really like down the list is Missouri at 50-1. I would take a flyer on them because they have a very easy schedule and they're going to still be pretty damn good next year. So we'll see. It's actually 3rd. Okay, it's 3rd behind Bama and Georgia. Yep. Guys, again, can you please hit that like button? Please subscribe down below. It really helps out the channel. I'm going to be here every Wednesday during the off season. I'll be here next Wednesday. We'll probably talk a little bit about Michigan, Washington, 5 to 10 minutes, but the rest of it will be Texas. Possibly, it would not shock me if we see a couple more announcements. So please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. This has been the 28th edition of the Bleeding Burnt Orange Show. I appreciate you guys for being here. I will be here again Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the 29th edition of the Bleeding Burnt Orange Show here on Mark Rogers TV, the SG1 Sports Texas channel, and the SEC Mark Rogers TV channel. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Share it with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Hook them, guys. It was still a great year. Thank you guys for being here.